This is Seeing Red, now in our 15th season of bringing you the best in independent Red Bulls news and opinion. Now, here are your hosts, Mark Fishkin and Joe Goldstein.
New York blew a chance to move further up the table. Stop me if you've heard this before. Doing some things well and others very poorly in a wild 2-2 draw that saw each team score after the 90-minute mark. Now with 4 matches left and City coming across the river, the Red Bulls have yet another chance to help themselves and their fans by clinching a playoff berth for the 14th straight season and making everyone feel a little bit better. It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. I'm Mark Fishkin. This week I'm joined by Gustavo Guimaraes. How are you, Gustavo?
Very good, Mark. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for being here. Our loyalties are somewhat distracted this week as we were watching the Mets hopefully possibly get over the line. If you're not a Met fan, we appreciate you dealing with us tonight on the show. I mean, we're going to look back at a gut-churning 2-2 draw with Atlanta that didn't feel good.
Not at all.
Didn't feel good. We'll give a Bull of the Week. We'll preview New York City coming for the second Hudson derby of the season. We'll chat with Roberto Abramowitz, our longtime friend of NYCFC Radio, and we have an email as well. All right, so New York starts the game last Saturday against Atlanta, doing what they often do in the early phases of games, and that's dominating, holding possession, getting off shots. The one difference, Gustavo, this week, other than the previous weeks, is the shots were finding the net. They hit the net so often, put the ball on frame so often that Brett Guzan won MLS Goalkeeper of the Week and was added to the MLS Team of the Week. But New York looked good in the first half hour.
I do agree with you. It was a very good performance during the first half, dominating. Completely kept Atlanta under control. But in the end, it's like we've seen this movie 1,000 times, man. It's just, I can't find the words. I can't find the right words anymore.
It's Groundhog Day. The Red Bulls opened the scoring when Dante Van Zier very skillfully took a John Tolkien pass, put it to the far corner past Guzan. It was Van Zier's first goal since May 4th. And it gave New York a 1-0 lead. They're heading into injury time, and you're thinking, okay, they got the first goal, just get to halftime. That's such a frequent phrase, just get to halftime. And Felipe Carballo wound up bringing down Jamar Tiare in the box, which I thought was a fair call. The two players were definitely being very, very physical heading into the box. And at that point, if you're Carballo, you've got to kind of lay off. I mean, I know you're the last man back and you're trying to prevent a shot, but at a certain point, you have to recognize where you are on the field and put a little trust in Coronel, I think.
Absolutely. I quite didn't get why he didn't stop the play outside the box.
Yes.
Why let the guy run into the box and then you make the foul, you commit the foul. Clear penalty, no excuses, no complainings about that.
No.
But I just didn't understand why he didn't stop the play before getting into the box. It's as simple as that for a defender. We cannot even say, oh, he doesn't know where he is on the field. He has to know.
I mean, take the yellow card there.
Take the yellow card. Stop the play.
Stop the play.
Keep the lead. It was very innocent. A very innocent play from Carballo. We do expect him doing a better protection.
Yeah, for sure. Moranchuk converts the penalty in first half injury time. It's 1-1, and you think, okay, well, that's kind of a downer, but New York has definitely had the better of the play, and they appear to be a better team. The one thing that I noticed is how frequently Atlanta was able to break with multiple runners. Obviously, they know the way to break the Red Bulls press is to go over the top, but it seemed like, especially in the late phases of the first half, 5 or 6 or 7 times Atlanta looping balls and kind of jailbreaks from Atlanta, and more often than not, just about every time, New York was able to defend skillfully, preventing shots. But nevertheless, they go to the second half, and while the first half was kind of New York dominating possession, getting a lot of chances, there were very few chances in the second half. It was much more physical, a bunch of yellow cards in the second half, and we were getting down to the late stages of the game, and you're thinking, here we go again, it's another draw. And then New York wins a penalty kick in the 87th minute as Manuel is clattered into in the box, and Manuel immediately picked the ball up and is standing on the spot.
I didn't quite get why Lewis didn't take the penalty, because he's the best player, clearly. But if Elias had the confidence in that moment, I think it shows a little bit of character too from him. So I do praise that. But in the end, you have to think about the team. And who's the best penalty taker of the team?
Lewis Morgan. Yeah. Morgan had missed during the Leagues Cup penalty kick shootout, and Manuel had converted both of his kicks during the Leagues Cup. And after the match, Schwartz basically said that was the reasoning. We're both powered by Duncan this morning, I see. Can we please get a Can we please get a sponsorship? But nevertheless, Manuel steps up, and Guzan guesses correctly, and an opportunity once again to win for the first time since July 20th. This team has not won a game since July 20th, and there is a golden opportunity that goes wanting. And you think, okay, well, it's a 1-1 draw, and that stinks. But here we go. In the second minute of injury time, Edward Mosquera for Atlanta brings the ball down the left side of the attack and unleashes a ball, Gustavo, that FB ref called a 0.02 XG. This ball found the upper 90 over Cornell's head, and I think stunned everyone in the arena. It was a good crowd. I think stunned everyone in the arena, including Mosquera, who clearly just kind of crossed himself and said, yeah, let's give it a go. And it found the upper 90.
It's amazing. I actually thought it was a beauty. It
was a beauty.
I didn't expect him to, hit the back of the net from that distance the way he did. I like the fact that he brought the ball into the middle and took a shot. Maybe Dylan could have done a little bit of a better job protecting, his left side. But okay, we gotta give Mosquera props to it. But it drew me back a couple of years ago when you will remember when we were playing Columbus at the Red Bull Arena, and at the end of the game we scored a goal, and then that striker from England lost the ball upfield.
Yes,
and they ran and tied the game right at the end. That was my feeling when I saw that play. It brought me memories, sad memories, obviously, but I was like, no, oh my God, not again, man. Come on, we need a win.
Just incredibly dispiriting, especially given the fact that 5 minutes earlier, Manuel has a chance to win the game and fails. And here's Mosquera, who is taking an outrageous shot and scores. Atlanta's never won at Red Bull Arena. They've never won since entering the league in 2017. And you think, well, that there goes out the window. It was a couple of years ago that, Atlanta had never scored at Red Bull Arena until Joseph Martinez finally scored for Atlanta before leaving the club.
And this is a game where for the first time I brought my kids to the Red Bull Arena when we beat Atlanta 1-0. Tom Barlow scored an amazing goal.
Yes.
Amazing header. You remember that?
Yep. Oh man. 5 minutes later, to New York's credit and to Schwartz's credit and to the entire team's credit, they didn't drop their heads.
Absolutely.
They said, we've got to work. This is our house. We're not going down without a fight. A wild goal mouth scramble 5 minutes later, deep in injury time. I think the ref had called for 9 minutes. Then you add a goal. There's more time in injury time. And I was waiting for the ref to blow the play dead. There were very physical play in the box. Noah Ayla is involved in the box. Why? Because New York's pushed all the way up. Julian Hall gets his first MLS assist to go along with his 2 goals, which for a 16-year-old, I think is the high watermark. Certainly on the team, but maybe for the league. Finds Manuel, and to Manuel's credit, and we have to give him credit, we have seen him go 20th row with balls like this. He didn't have a lot of time. Guzan was moving from his right to his left, and Manuel stuck it in. And New York escapes again at Red Bull Arena with a draw that looked like it was going to be a draw, and then looked like it was going to be a win, and then looked like it was going to be a loss. It was literally an emotional roller coaster in the last 10 minutes of this game, 15 minutes of the game. And while there was certainly a lot of excitement about scoring the game-tying goal, it reminds me of the psychological study about and this wasn't a win, but how losses hurt more than wins feel good. And yes. Again, this wasn't a win, it was a draw, but I was absolutely emotionally drained. The draw combined with Orlando's loss at Columbus lifts the New York back into 4th place in the East with 4 matches to play. I mean, I think everyone walked out of there completely wrought, just exhausted.
Yes. It's been the same movie, the game against Sporting Kansas City, which wasn't so dominating as the one against Atlanta. But it's like, come on, guys, you have to win. Just find a way to win. Clearly, somehow find a way to win. I do give props to Elias for not letting himself down. I think
yes,
the execution was perfect. Time was running out. He didn't have much time to think what he was going to do, but he did the right thing. And I think he's the right number 9 as a starter, even though he's not perfect. Far from that, obviously. But at this point, Mark, my concerns are, do we deserve to be in the 4th place? Do we honestly deserve to be there? Because we haven't won a game since July. Or is the league, the teams above us, under us, that bad?
I think yes. I think they are that bad. I think, when you stockpile 8 wins before June, those 24 points carry you very, very well as a foundation. And Philadelphia is making a run, Orlando is making a run, and they played a very entertaining game at Columbus and wound up on the wrong end of a 4-3 score line. They're very dangerous. But it's all in New York's hands. And unfortunately, when you only have 10 wins and the first tiebreaker is wins, when you win 10 of 30 games, it's not going to win you very many tie-breaking matchups. But 4 matches left. You have a bull of the week for the night?
My bull of the week would be Dante Van Zier for finding the force again, because he hasn't scored a goal since May the 4th. So he found the force again.
Tolkien made the team of the week's bench, but I'm going to give mine also to Van Zier. Red Bull fans are singularly minded when it comes to Van Zier, that he has not been worth it. He obviously is in his own head. He leads the league in XG minus G, which is expected goals minus goal. Like he literally has failed to score more often in obvious goal scoring opportunities than any other player in the league. But he delivered, and it was a very high degree of difficulty goal. So I think, Dante, congrats, my guy. You're our bull of the week. All right. Hudson Derby time. Saturday at 7:30. The Red Bulls host NYCFC, and they look to get their first win since July. Before we do that, let's go right to the remaining schedule, and we can see here it's just one column now. In a week's time, we'll know pretty much where this team's going to go, because they've Gut City. They go to Toronto on Wednesday. They come back. They head to Atlanta for the second game in 3 weeks. And then we have a week of international play, which is what everyone is looking forward to. And then we finish it up on decision day with Columbus. And hopefully by then, not that I'm thinking Columbus will take it easy on us, but hopefully their position on the table will be decided by decision day, so they don't necessarily have anything to play for. All right, let's look at NYC FC. They are as mediocre a team as the Red Bulls are. In fact, they're more mediocre. They are literally a 500 team, 11-11-8. That's not good. They also have not won a game in some time. 0-3-6 since July 4th. Does that sound familiar to you? They're 7 points above the line. They've scored 43 and conceded 43 in 30 matches. That is literally the definition of mediocre. They're 3-7-5 away from home, which is the 10th best road record in the league. Stop me if you've heard this. They're 4th in big chances missed. Only the Red Bulls, Colorado, and Philadelphia have missed more big chances in the season than NYCFC. Woo! They're 5th in saves per match, so they are conceding a lot of shots, but they do possess often in the opponent's box. They lead the league there. Themes for this team: possession without penetration. Unlike many NYCFC teams in the past, they don't really have a clinical striker. They do possess the ball, but they don't have that cutting edge in front of goal. It's like I'm standing in front of a mirror, Gustavo.
Absolutely.
They have plenty of talent. They have
Absolutely.
Oh, my God. They have Santi Rodriguez, who will be out with yellow cards. They have Maxi Morales, who is not a young man, and Hannes Wolf as creators, but they have trouble scoring. Costa Rican Alonso Martinez has 13 goals this year, and he is the best option they have. But even if he's a winger turned striker, he's yet to provide consistent goal scoring like David Villa or Tati Castellanos did for this team. Problems persist with Pershing. Much like the Red Bulls, NYC are in a bad way. They're in the midst of a 9-game winless run in MLS, dating back to a 2-0 win on July 3rd. Many NYC fans believe that the problem is with manager Nick Cushing. There was a period of time when City were on fire when they beat the Red Bulls back earlier in the spring, but that's a distant memory, and Cushing is feeling it from the NYC fans. No Santi. They'll be without Rodriguez, who has 12 goals and 5 assists and 33 appearances in all comps. He has been by far NYC's best player this season, but he got a yellow card in Miami, and so he won't be around. As I mentioned, NYCFC winless since July 4th. Their last 5, they have 2 losses and 3 draws. Stop me if you've heard this. They had the 1-1 draw this past weekend against Miami on a 95th minute James Sands goal. Before that, they got crushed at home 5-1 by Philly, a 1-1 draw at DC where they conceded first and they scored first and conceded late. They got trucked by Columbus 4-2, and they had a 2-0 lead on Chicago disappear after the 75th minute. Head-to-head, you know the story. The Red Bulls still lead here, 15-9-4. The last time these teams met back in May at Citi Field, it was the first Hudson derby at Citi Field, which was very strange as a Met fan to be there and support the away team, but so be it. City was the better team that night. They got a second-half goal and beat the Red Bulls 2-1. Cam Harper with a laser beam for New York in that game. New York has definitely had the edge over the years in the derby at Red Bull Arena, 12-2-2 all time. The home side in the series hasn't lost in 5 matches. BWP, of course, loved to play NYCFC. He really understood the assignment. Kyle Duncan, who won't play, Cam Harper and Lewis Morgan each have a single goal. Who won't be here, right? As we know, Santi Rodriguez has yellow card accumulation. I'm going to do my best here. Stranija Tanaslovic, a Serbian, also he's a center back, also is out with yellow cards. Malachi Jones, 21-year-old from Sierra Leone, has a leg injury, and then Burke Risa may play, 26-year-old Norwegian center back. He had he had training before Miami. He should be available. And then, of course, the big question is Forsberg. And, Gustavo, I want your thoughts on this, because the team really has not been upfront, frankly, about what is the real story here. The team has been asked repeatedly, what exactly is the nature of Forsberg's injury? And the only thing we've heard that it is a lower leg injury. Despite, frankly, the press saying, can you be more specific? And the answer has been not really so much. It's been well publicized, of course, that Forsberg has had significant family challenges this season, walking away from his wife when he made the trip to New York. And while we don't necessarily want to dig in significantly about what that's been about, because at the end of the day, it's his own business, it's hard to believe that since June 1, coming back from Swedish international duty, that there hasn't been an impact on him. So I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I think would be much better to handle this situation with more transparency from the club. Just let us know what's going on. Just be clear about it. And then we wouldn't have the same expectation if he's coming back every single match day. His personal business, actually, I don't really think about it. I think it's up to him to fix whatever situation he needs to be fixed. But when it comes for him playing on the field for the New York Red Bulls, that concerns me. And the team have not been the same without him. He does add a lot of quality, something that this team has lacked a lot in the midfield. Obviously, he's a leader. His technical qualities are, undeniable, and his leadership too. So why can't you, as the club, didn't provide us with the right information? What's going on? Why is he injured? Why it's been so long? We've seen him wearing protection on his lower leg at Red Bull Arena doing
sometimes
games. Yes, but come on, guys, let us know. It's time. It's almost the end of the regular season. What's going on?
Yeah. Kyle Duncan, we know, is out after his knee surgery. Sean Nealis did not play against Atlanta. Hopefully he will be back. I thought Reyes and Ayla did well against Atlanta. And then Wiki Carmona as well may or may not be back. So here's what we think Nick Cushing will roll out against the Red Bulls. It's a 4-2-3-1 with Matt Freese, who has 5 clean sheets in 33 appearances. Not great. Around the back line, former Red Bulls youth player Kevin O'Toole with a goal and an assist. Burke Risa, we mentioned earlier, does not have a point this season. Thiago Martins, 29-year-old Brazilian who has been at NYC for some time, has an assist. Young Tavon Gray, who's now only 22 and has been on this team, I think, for 4 or 5 seasons, has 6 assists from right back. The 6s are James Sands, who got his first goal in a New York uniform from Rye, New York. Sometime U.S. men's national team player Keaton Parks, whose career has not moved as I had thought it would. I had one time hoped that he would have been a national team candidate, but I think he's kind of peaked certainly at 27, 2 goals and 2 assists on the season. Hannes Wolf, the Austrian, who I believe scored in the first half goal, the early goal against City at City Field, on the right wing with 5 and 5. Maxi Morales, Gustavo, is 37 years old, which works because he's 3'7". No, that's not true. But he is not a young man, not playing in the prime of his career, with a goal and 5 assists, which is in 18 matches. Augustin Ojeda, a 20-year-old Argentine with 3 goals on the left wing. And then the aforementioned Alonso Martinez, 25-year-old Costa Rican, is getting looks at the Costa Rican national team now. 13 goals and 4 assists. And so as I bring this back and I put No, not that one. This one. Back up. It's all about branding, folks. What do you think, my friend? What are we going to see on Saturday night?
At this point, and you know how much positive I've been throughout the season, but at this point, I'm expecting another draw.
Yep.
There's no other way of saying, especially lacking important key players as Forsberg and maybe a 1-1. I don't know.
We don't know. Forsberg might be ready to go. He might not be. Based on the table right now, and I apologize for not having a graphic for those on YouTube, here's what New York needs in order to clinch a playoff berth. If they win, they clinch a playoff berth. If they draw, they need the 3 teams that are stuck on 33 points. And let me go there quickly just to pull it up as we chat. That is not where I wanted to go. It's DC, Nashville, and Atlanta. Thank you. They're all on 33 points. The Red Bulls just need each of those teams to drop 1 point over their last 4 games to make it. Of course, as I said, if the Red Bulls win, then they're in for the 14th straight year. And listen, there are plenty of people in social media spheres that have said, why do we even care? This team isn't going anywhere. We want the team to do well.
Absolutely.
We want the team. I don't think anyone is under the illusion that they're not an MLS Cup contender. They're not. They're not. And that's okay. And they're going to make the playoffs unless they lose all 4 of these matches. But, you want them to finish high in it's walking away from the team now and saying, if the lens is they're good enough to win MLS Cup or they're not, and if they're not, I'm not interested. That's not right. Come on, you support the team. This is what we do.
Absolutely. You don't wish them. I don't wish them bad. I want them to succeed. I want them to make to the playoffs. I want them to go deep into the playoffs. I do want that to obviously win the MLS Cup, but realistically, we know that's a really, long shot. But when it comes to this game against NYCFC, it's like we say in South America, you don't play a derby, you win a derby. It doesn't matter if it's
that's right.
bad,
if you're last on the table,
you win. Those are your main rivals coming into town. You have to beat them. You have to defeat them. It doesn't matter how you're going to do it. Just do it. Get the ball in the back of the net.
We're going to talk to Roberto Abramowitz about this, but I didn't give my prediction. I'm going to call it a 2-1 Red Bulls win because why not? And before we get to Roberto, I do want to mention, though, it's a very busy time in New York sports, right? The Yankees are in the playoffs. The Mets may make the playoffs if things go their way. The Liberty, if you view them as a well-supported New York team, which I think we can at this point, are into the second round of the WNBA playoffs. Both the Giants and Jets won this weekend. Preseason hockey has started. And so, this is as meaningful a game as any in the New York market this weekend. And I would hope that as we get later in the week, we're recording this on Wednesday morning, that more people will pay attention to what's happening. And hopefully it gets the attention it deserves. All right. When we're back on Seeing Red, we're going to talk to Roberto Abramowitz of NYCFC Radio. So please keep it here. Thank you so very much. Back on Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup, Derby Week. The second of 2, the Red Bulls at home hosting NYCFC. Each team coming off a less than scintillating draws. I don't know. Neither of these teams can win games. And they appear to be mirror images of each other, but we're very, very pleased to have, as we do most of these Derby weeks, Roberto Abramowitz of NYCFC Radio. How are you, Roberto?
I am doing great, thank you. And it's always a pleasure to be here. I so look forward to this twice a year.
Yes, indeed. And maybe a third time, if these teams can actually keep their position, they'll be just about in a line, right? That you need to hop Orlando, and then these teams we can finally have a Derby playoff series. But what I want
and
to
it'll be third, fourth, and fifth time, by the way.
That's right. Well, third and fourth time, fifth
for
to
sure.
be seen.
Fifth, we'll see.
We'll see. Not only do I want to compliment you on your great fashion sense, but also I want you to tell me the story of what has happened to NYCFC since Red Bull fans saw them on May 21st after, frankly, they were the better team in a 2-1 blue team win at Citi Field.
So let's see. So New York City learned how to score goals since the last time that we all met.
Yep.
What basically happened is that Alonso Martinez pulled a Tati Castellanos as he was brought in as a winger, and then who had some talent at center forward because he seemed to have this knack of when shooting the ball, it would be on frame. And it seemed like a lot of the guys that New York City were having issues with that, with doing that. And even though that's the job description for a number 9, and they gave Monsef Bakrar and Mijatovic basically every chance in the world to grab the bull by the horns. Sorry, not really a Red Bull reference.
It's all good, man.
But the guy who raised his hand and has been very, very good has been Alonso Martinez, who now has 12 goals. He's been very, very solid in the middle. He's extremely fast, gets off his shot very quickly, and it's mostly very, very accurate to the point of where now he has been brought in by the Costa Rican national team and has already started a couple of games for them. So
Wow.
he has really risen, and he's done very well.
Neither of these teams have torn it up of late. New York City FC's last league win came on July 3rd.
Thank you.
Since that, hey, it's no prettier here, man. Since then, they've gone 0-3-6, which is very reminiscent of the Red Bulls' 2-3-9 run in the league since June 1st. What is preventing this team, NYC, from actually collecting wins instead of collecting draws?
It has been individual mistakes more than anything else, and too many of them. And they've popped up at terrible times because they've blown leads in so many different places. And probably the one that hurt the most was blowing a lead late against Chicago, because they had that game won. It was a simple win. And then all of a sudden, Chicago scored twice. First, I think it was in the 87th minute, and then in stoppage time to get a tie in a game that New York City was winning at home. So that was probably the most disappointing result, although they had a terrible, disappointing result, although it didn't mean much, in Cincinnati when they had a 2-0 lead there. And then all of a sudden in the 79th minute, and then Cincinnati scored 4 goals in 10 minutes once they started putting their starters on. And this is within League's Cup. And then they had another game in Columbus where they were behind. Monsef Bakrar ties the game 2-2 in the 87th minute, and you think that everything's great and they're going to get out of there with a tie. And getting out of Columbus with a tie is a big deal.
It's a great
because they are the best team in the league.
Yes, they are.
And they all of a sudden blow it in stoppage time by forgetting that they needed to mark people in the 6-yard box.
So is it a question of a back line that doesn't really, these are guys that have all played together for a number of years, right? It's Thiago Martins and it's Tavon Gray and Kevin O'Toole, the former Red Bulls homegrown. This isn't a new unit. Are they just, is it a question of midfielders and forwards not tracking back late in matches to make a difference?
It's a lot of all of those things. It's individual mistakes. It's guys not coming back. It's mental breakdowns, where you're just doing the wrong thing and you should be concentrating. But one of the things that I really liked against Inter Miami was the fact that New York City simplified things considerably. So they and I liked it because obviously, you know, the category of team that Inter Miami is with all their attacking talent and, you know, and having Jordi Alba there, and to say nothing of Leo Messi and Luis Suarez. Robert Taylor, you know, has been fantastic ever since Leo Messi came to Inter Miami. So you got all these guys that can really do things. And what New York City did, and did more of than I've seen all season long, is that they played the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. And instead of trying to play out of the back all the time, and when they won the ball and do it, no, kick it out of bounds. If you feel that you're a little, kick it out of bounds. Set up. And then, you know, play good defense. And they did a lot of those things that they hadn't been doing before. I think that they really took it a step back and say, hey, we've got to simplify. Let's not overthink things. You know, let's keep it simple. And they did, and it worked. And it worked very, very well because they dominated that game against Inter Miami. Miami got a great goal. You know, it wasn't even a mistake or anything. They constructed it well. And New York City didn't give up, and they kept on coming and coming. And then James Sands finally put one in the back of the net with his first goal as a New York City player.
That took some time. I mean, you don't normally have your sixes scoring, but I know that Sands was being lauded for his play throughout the game and just kind of making Messi disappear a little bit, which is, of course, really difficult to do, cutting off passing lanes, really
it was more than just him. Yeah, he did a great job, but it was more than just him because you had Kevin O'Toole that was on him quite a bit because he would come down the right side. And then you had Tanasiewicz on him as well. So, I mean, there were a lot of guys who helped. And one of the things that they did was basically they kept Messi in front of them and they kept on handing him off. And Messi just could not get space, couldn't get comfortable. And I mean, he did wind up getting an assist because Leo Messi is Leo Messi. Right. And I mean, he really was basically marked out of the game.
A huge crowd at Yankee Stadium. I mean, the stadium was sold out. Yes.
Not quite sold out. A sellout at Yankee Stadium these days is around 46,000 and change.
They had
44,738, I believe, was the final number, which was still very, very good. Tickets weren't cheap, you know, even on StubHub at the end of the, or was it Ticketmaster, you know, 20 minutes before the game started, tickets were still going for about $80 and above.
Wow.
And but it's the second largest crowd in history. Still, the Red Bulls 3-1 win over New York City in 2016 is still the largest crowd ever. And it's the first 40,000 plus crowd that New York City has had since 2015.
Wow. All right. Well, there can't be that many fans in Harrison on Saturday night. It's such a, I mean, we talk about this all the time, Roberto. I mean, both baseball teams alive in the last week of the season. Both football teams won. Preseason hockey's getting going. Gotham's cooking. The Liberty in the playoffs.
Play tonight.
They play tonight. And there's, here it is early in the week. It's Tuesday, but there isn't a lot of buzz about this game. Neither of these teams have been able to consistently win this season. NYCFC is a 500 team. You can make the argument that the Red Bulls should be a 500 team, considering that it's very difficult to beat them and they don't win too often. What are you expecting to see Saturday night, certainly out of NYCFC?
I expect it to be a typical NYCFC Red Bull game. I expect it to be very intense. I expect it to be very hard fought. Emotions will run high. And both teams need to start getting their act together. So the Red Bulls had a fantastic opportunity to win last weekend, but Elias Manuel blew a penalty kick, but they still didn't give up, and they found a way, to tie the game, which kudos to them. New York City basically did the same thing. And for New York City fans, I'm hoping, and I mentioned this on the broadcast, that maybe this is another Goody Torarenson moment for the team. And back in 2021, New York City was floundering. They had a series of games that they hadn't won. They had gone 509 minutes without a goal. And then in the 90th minute, Goody Torarenson nails a free kick in Atlanta in the upper 90. And then New York City didn't lose a game the rest of the way. So if this is that sort of moment where James Sands scores that goal, and now this revives New York City, because in this league, look, the difference between winning, losing, and tying in a salary cap league where talent is pretty even for the most part, anything can go. Teams go on runs all the time, either winning runs, losing runs, or tying runs. So there's nothing to say that New York City, all of a sudden, if it gets a break here, break there, doesn't go on a huge run. So we will see what happens. History tells us that these things happen. We'll see if it repeats itself.
After the Red Bulls, City finishes with Cincinnati at home, Nashville at home.
Asterisk.
Home. Well, are you playing that at Red Bull Arena?
Yeah, unless the Mets implode, which doesn't look like it.
Shh, hush your mouth. And then they finish in Montreal. The teams from 4 to 12 on the table are not separated by a ton. I would imagine that for either of these teams, 2 wins in their last 4 matches will certainly be enough to lock up a playoff spot. And what happens there, as you said, is up to the playoff gods. I'm curious what your overall thoughts of what NYC might do over this last stretch.
I wish I knew exactly here, looking at it from the positive point of view. You hope that they finish out strong, that they can win a few games along the way, and if they can get to 4th place, which I think the goal is, the goal is to get to 4th place, because the first series is going to be winning 2 out of 3. So you hope to be able to get two games. What would be ironic that if the Mets and Yankees continue to do well and advance in the playoffs, where does New York City play those 2 games?
Yeah,
I mean, I think I don't know if they would play them in Harrison. I would almost bet that there's a better chance that they play them in Philly rather than in Harrison, or play them in Connecticut. Do you really think New York City fans want to play at home in Harrison against the Red Bulls?
I mean, I would imagine if they were facing the Red Bulls, they would most likely move those games out.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying.
That's
if
what you're
it's against
saying?
the Red Bulls, if it's against the Red Bulls, then, but God, I mean, Connecticut, when they played their game up in Connecticut, they had maybe like 2,000-3,000 fans, and when they had that one game against Comunicaciones from Guatemala, which New York City was allegedly the home team, and they played that in Hartford, 90% of the crowd was Guatemalan. They made the trip. They're like over 10,000 people there. But will New York City fans make the trip? I don't know. Will they go and decide maybe? I don't know if they can. I mean, I'm speculating without really knowing here. Could they play those games over at Icon Stadium now that they've been able to put a field down over there? That holds 5,000. They could put temporary seating to get it maybe like to 10. I don't know.
When will the stadium be done? 28?
19? No, stop it. 2027.
Oh, okay. Because clearly everything in New York runs on a construction schedule, and there won't be any delays for any reason.
Well, I think that they have enough built based on the conversations that I have.
Yeah.
The reason they're saying 2027 is because there's enough time built in there to be able to account for those things. But hopefully, if weather holds up, and like it has for the past 2 years during the winter, then maybe they can accelerate that even a little bit more. But it's scheduled to be open mid-March, late March 2027.
All right. Who knows?
I went yesterday, by the way, to see what it's supposed to look like, because they've built a room in the New York City offices that is like to show off what the suites are going to look like. They spend millions of dollars on this. It's insane, but it is just so beautiful. To be honest, it's going to be great. The stadium that they're building is going to be absolutely magnificent.
Fantastic.
And I'm a big Red Bull Arena fan. You know this.
Well, I mean, we're talking about stadiums built in 2 entirely different eras, right? I mean, it's almost 20 years later. I would hope that it would be all that. It's very exciting, and I think it will be an opportunity to really reboot the franchise. And I know that there are a lot of NYC fans that have kind of held off their support because they felt kind of hard done by the eternal ongoing stadium chronicles. And once they finally have a place, and, I mean, the irony is, I know that the capacity for the new stadium will probably be about 25 grand, 26, 27. I would imagine
they're saying 25 right now, but they haven't done. I asked a specific question yesterday. Do you have the final seating plans? And they said no,
not yet.
So I don't know if it's going to be 25 exactly, or it's really going to be 25, 515. Whatever. It's going to be somewhere in that that vicinity. And the other question I asked was, what are the can you add seats?
Well, right. That's
post?
Right.
And they said, not really. Maybe they could a few here and there, but not really. So it's going to stay there. There's a good chance Red Bull Arena with, 25.5 basically, might be slightly bigger.
Well, okay. Great. Well, listen, it should be a fantastic game. I'd ask you for a prediction if you feel like entertaining one. I mean, for me, this has 1-1 draw written all over it because that's what the Red Bulls usually do. But, I mean, they do owe a little bit of payback. Forsberg's return is obviously a big question mark, and we should hear later in the week if he's coming back. He may not. This team without him, are able to generate some scoring opportunities. We'll see. It's been a very strange road for the last 3 months, waiting on him to grace us, I guess. So
injuries, advanced age, they don't mix very well. And by the way, there's something that you should know. Yeah. New York City is going to be down 2 players for this game.
Yes.
Because Santi Rodriguez, yellow card accumulation.
Shame.
Out.
Shame.
And I'm sure you're very upset about that.
That's bad.
Are you shedding a tear?
No, I'm good here. Thank you. What's the other?
Strainia Tanasiewicz, who's played pretty well in Burke Risa's absence. He's going to be out as well because of yellow card accumulation. We don't know if Risa is going to be back yet. We'll find out, I guess, on Thursday if he's training full or not. But if not, then I expect Justin Hack to be there in the back line.
All right. Roberto Abramowitz can be heard every NYCFC match in Espanol. Roberto, it's always a pleasure to chat. And, I mean, these teams, at some point, they're going to have to meet in the postseason. It is. Yes. I mean, both of these teams make the playoffs enough that you would imagine it would have happened already. But, these guys need to land in just the right way. And then, Red Bull fans can drive up to Hartford or New Haven or the Yale Bowl or down to Chester or somewhere. It would be interesting nonetheless. But thank you so much for joining us this week. We appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Let's root for 4 and 5. So we have a best of 2 out of 3.
Would love it. Would love it. We've got more Seeing Red coming up after this short break. So keep it here, won't you? Thanks. We're back at Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Mark and Gustavo getting ready for the big Hudson Derby, the second Hudson Derby of the season. As always, write us at seeingredny@gmail.com. We always appreciate the varied opinions and views of our listening public and our viewing public. Please don't be shy. Reach out. One email this week, it's from Jeff Cooley, who says, "Hey, Mark, Gustavo, and Joe. The Red Bulls seem stuck playing to their opponents. They can't rise above the level of the other team on the field, or at least not in a meaningful way. How do we get over this? We know we need goals, but is it all on our strikers? It is not. Is it really the only problem? Our record with and without Forsberg reminds me of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but I think it's been a sum of our losses in midfield that magnifies the striker problem. Forsberg went to international duty and still isn't back. Amaya is never coming back, and Stroud is finally back, but his form isn't where it was before, and you got to give him some time." That's me. This is not to say that Edelman, Donkor, Harper, and Hall have not stepped up big. They have, but it's not the same. And the results show that whatever we had at the beginning of the season, we need to find it fast. Otherwise, it won't matter where we play our playoff games. We'll tumble out in the first round, and we'll deserve it. I hope we don't, though. Anyway, let's go Red Bulls. That's Jeff Cooley. Jeff, thank you for the note. I don't think we've talked enough about the loss of Frankie Amaya and what he has meant to this team. And, you know, as Carballo settles in and is a different player, he brings something different than Amaya, especially going forward. And, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Amaya, I think he was on his peak, the peak of his career with the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
And Carballo is a player that's coming off a long-term injury in Brazil. So he needs time to adjust himself on the field. But yes, Amaya does. He's not being on the field for this team. It does affect the mobility of the midfield. Obviously, he brought a lot of good distribution. And I think he had also a different quality among the players. And he had a very good ability to take long shots. We've seen him score some beauties. And we haven't seen that after he left. So it's something that we do have to, the front office needs to address coming into 2025. But I think the main reason for these Red Bulls have not been able to succeed is the absence of Forsberg, clearly.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no other thing to say about it.
When you have a $6 million player that doesn't play for a significant piece of the season, your team suffers, and perhaps it shouldn't be that way, right? I mean, Messi, missed considerable amount of time, and Miami kind of soldiered on. They also have more top to bottom quality than the Red Bulls do. They don't play a whole lot of 19, 20, and 22-year-olds. They are full of veterans that you can argue are past their prime. But nevertheless, in a league like MLS, that still works.
Absolutely.
So
they're still able to deliver.
They're still able to deliver. And agreed, 100% in Jeff's note that, you know, they're stuck to playing the level of their opponents. When you're fourth in the East, the majority of your opponents are below you on the table, right? Absolutely. And again, they swept Cincinnati. They split with Miami. They got trucked really bad at Columbus early in the season, which, again, most teams lose in Columbus. And since then, they've been playing also Rans in the table. But, you know, New York is one of those teams. But the good thing is, as I've said, you know, 1 win gets in the playoffs. I honestly believe that 2 wins out of 4 will get them the 4th spot. And everyone, you know, these next 3 teams that they're playing, the City, Toronto, Atlanta, are all chasing. And so, you know, those are teams that will be desperate for 3 points every time they go out. And hopefully that means pushed up a little bit more. Draws don't help those teams that are 10th to the 13th on the table. They're going to have to go for it. And New York, hopefully, will be able to take advantage of those situations.
That suits the style of the Red Bulls playing. When we play away, we have to remember that, you know, we can counterattack, and let's see what they can do.
Yeah, for sure. We will most likely be back with a shortened show before the Red Bulls take on Toronto next Wednesday. But nevertheless, I want to thank everyone that took part in today's show. Zach Feldman, as always, for stats. Roberto Abramowitz, it's always good to speak with you. Gustavo, thanks for being here. We miss you, Joe Goldstein. They're thinking about you and sending you positive vibes every week. Gustavo calls Saturday's derby a
1-1.
1-1. I'm going to call it a 2-1 Red Bulls win, and think positive thoughts. Thank you so much for watching episode 5 and listening to episode 589. What? Of Seeing Red. We'll be back next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.